near evening, or evening had set, and you wandered in. A group of undead, including some recently undead, some you recognized, even a pair of brothers from the town of Cotton Hill. Others of varying age. Some looked long dead, some a month or so had been dead. Tried to bar your way to get deeper into this catacomb or burial chamber. They barred your way. They didn't move aggressively against you. You kind of moved your way back toward the door, and you shot with your crossbow into them, which provoked them to kind of charge forward. You continued to shoot with your crossbow, and you killed 2 of them. As you retreated toward the door, you made your way out the door. I think you killed 1 more at the doors, and then were able to chain it closed by taking a large bronzed chain, kind of binding it together, and you used one of their own spears to kind of crank on the chains and tighten them. And at some point, as you drew the links together, they didn't like magically reform, but as the links came back together, some sort of a thrum, a low vibration seemed to resound at their touch on the doors. They were all kind of pushed back. As you stepped back and looked to see if it would hold, at least one of the undead came and touched it. You felt it thrum again and felt it kind of get blasted away. The doors felt fairly secure, and you wandered off a short distance away where you could watch the door, I think, and rested up. In resting, you gained your level. You healed up to full hit points. And did you sleep through the night?
I don't think so.
You just kind of watched. So you're tired as we approach the next day. Is Callum somebody who kind of works well on low sleep, or does that affect you? Not mechanically, but does that affect you?
No, I think probably because he spends so much time, burning the midnight oil and studying. He's probably used to not getting a lot of sleep.
Okay. I remember those days.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. So as you wake and make camp, the doors are still barred shut, at whatever distance you are away from them. They're still barred.
Probably like right here.
And one thing you can see, I've arbitrarily decided that your bright light is 20 feet and it goes out to dimness to 40 foot. We can play with that if that's... I just used a D&D torch as an example.
No, that's fine. Did I hear any more of the commotion at the door? Like, did they keep trying the door, or after a few tries, did the attempt stop?
The attempt stopped after a few tries. And there was, you think... You probably camped close enough that you think you would have heard the thrumming had it happened. But either way, as you look toward the door this morning, it's still sealed. Nothing got through in the night, and it doesn't feel like more attempts were made.
Got it. Let me look really quickly at what spells I want to have ready for today.
And you get to choose 2, if I recall correctly. I'll double check that. And because we're in level 2 now, advanced play is covered in the main book, not the quick start book. Oh, and a couple things on the play style. What we're going to be doing is developing really a sandbox, kind of a hex crawl sandbox game. The game is going to be populated with things of various difficulties to overcome. Some stuff you're going to steamroll through. Some stuff will just kill you outright.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of what you did yesterday, we're like, you know what, before I aggro them, let me back up to the door and get ready to run out and like cover my escape. That's very advisable. You do want to do that. Play judiciously to your character. If things go wrong, and there can be things that just will fuck you up. If things go wrong, you can also use your Defy Death roll. And if you remember, it starts off at a D4. You roll, I want to say it's a D4 per level. So you would roll 2D4, We would interpret those as damage that you would take, and if you survive that damage, you shake off whatever like death effect hit you. Keep going. You just suffer the damage. If you actually would die from that damage, you reset your hit points to 1. You don't die, but you do suffer the effect. And if the effect was death, if you're saving versus death, then you would die. But
Got it.
Every time you use it in an adventure, the D4 goes up to a D6, to a D8, D10, D12. When you start a new adventure, like when you complete this particular adventure, it goes back down to a D4. So it's kind of like a luck point in Monster of the Week. You can use it for all sorts of stuff. You don't like how a saving throw turned out. You don't like how a roll turned out. You can just defy death.
Okay.
Oh, and then to clarify on how damage works, if you were to do a spell that does 2d4 damage, you roll each die separately and you calculate the damage. So a 1 does 0 damage, 2 through 5 does 1 damage. If you do 2d8 damage, you roll them separately. And then if it's like 2d4 plus 2 for some attack that you're doing, the plus 2 goes to one of the rolls of your choosing. So let's say you rolled a 1 and a 2. The 1 wouldn't do any damage, but if you bumped it up by 2 to a 3, it would do 1 point. The 2 would do 1 point of damage, and if you bumped it up to a 4, it would still only do 1. So there you might put on the lower roll. But damage, the way damage is calculated, I know we had kind of a problem with that, or it's not intuitive yet.
Right.
I think it will get to where we enjoy it, and I can kind of see why he's doing it this way to approximate, because you're really doing, when you're doing hit dice instead of hit point damage against the people around you, you're really kind of approximating just how overwhelmingly you're smashing into them, or it's just a bad round.
Sure.
You're not really calculating hit points. It's just kind of a abstraction. But kind of like in the same thing when they hit you, they might hit you with their swords, but they roll a 1 for damage. They cut into you a little bit, but you shake off their wounds the way that Hercules or Xena or whoever wades through and ignores superficial wounds. So. I think we're good to kind of see what does Callum do as he wakes up. You chose your spells?
Yep, I'm going to do the 7 Small Thunders and the Least Alchemy of Forms.
And I'm just going to double check what that one does. You can turn things into like liquid or gas. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't have the name of the spell showing up when you click it, right?
I don't think so, no. Let me look.
Instead of me fixing that for you, let me show you how to do it real quick. In your character sheet, go to the Attributes and Abilities. Let me know when you're there.
Yep.
Click on the pencil next to 7 Small Thunders.
Mm-hmm.
And it should expand the box below it. Just copy the name from the box. You want to keep it in that box up above, but then copy it into a line above where it says duration.
All right.
And then hit the check mark when you're done.
Yep. Done.
And so now when you click that one, it should unselect your token and then reselect your token also. That's one thing I learned. Although I may have screwed it up. I don't know, because I also opened the thing. Did it work that time?
Doesn't look like it.
Looks like it didn't, and I think I screwed up by also having the thing open while you were saving it. I'm going to just do it real quick here myself. Which 2 spells did you do? This one and the Least Alchemy of Forms?
Yes.
I'm going to do those real quick on my end. Oh, yeah, you did these. Okay, you got the Alchemy of Forms in. And if we select your token, we should be good to go. Okay.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so what does Callum do? Is he wakes up? What does it look like when you prepare your spells?
I mean, in this game, or does it just depend on what we want? In this game, is it like a traditional wizard trope where you've got a spell book and you study at the beginning of the day and kind of memorize, or
A magic user could be a wizard. It could be a hedge witch. It could be any. You could have some chicken bones you throw in a cup and salt them and recharge your powers. Could be a book. Could be a contraption you play with. Some prayer beads, like meditation beads, because it's not divine.
right?
So you have a lot of room.
I suppose he probably does have a book, but the book doesn't have traditional writing in it. It's almost got not runes as much as they almost look like complex geometric symbols that as he studies them, he kind of traces them with his hands, and an image of them sort of forms in front of him, almost like Doctor Strange style, where he's kind of creating these geometric shapes in front of him. And as he commits them to memory, they sort of fade from view.
I almost picture like the book maybe being almost like shingles that you've etched. You've kind of, like, as you learn new spells, you carve them into something not just paper, but like carved into because you're a woodworker too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like a wooden shingle where each page is its own spell. You've carved those shapes in, and that's kind of what you trace over as you prep. So it might be pretty meaningless even to another wizard, or somebody who also does arcane stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Might not necessarily just be able to pick up your book and read from it.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So yeah, as you go through that ritual, no action from the doorway. I think it strikes you this morning. As you came in last night, there really seems to be a quiet over the hill that you're at. No bats flew overhead last night. No owls. Probably maybe some stinging insects were a little bit of a pest overnight, but not even those too bad. But no nocturnal animals. And as you wake up, there's no chirping birds to greet you. Definitely something kind of unnatural around this hill has affected the wildlife.
Very curious.
What does Callum do as he's starting his day?
I want to sort of creep towards the door, but I don't want to arouse suspicion from inside. So I want to be somewhat quiet about it, and I want to kind of just listen and see if I hear movement, shuffling, rattly breathing, anything from near the inside of the door.
Yeah, so using the fact that the door is mostly wedged shut, it's really a small crack that you can even use to look and listen through. It's easy to approach from like a side. You take your time. You're calm, stealthy. You don't need to roll for it. You get up to the door. It's cool to the touch as you kind of brush up against it. You take a few moments to listen. You hear nothing. Are you going to risk a peek inside?
Yeah, I'll do a quick look inside.
Okay. And do you have a light on you right now?
It's probably light outside, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think last time we established that you can just kind of create a magical torch on your own as you wish. One thing I thought about also after the combat last time, your crossbow is going to have some sort of reload issue related to it.
Okay.
I think it's probably a fairly small and light crossbow. You're not doing like a great big, like to punch through crazy armor and stuff, because it only does
right.
damage. So it's something that you can still move and shoot every turn, but it's going to be a bit of an ordeal. So let's just keep that in mind for fictional positioning.
Sure.
It's not like a rapid fire pistol. So yeah, you get up to the door. You don't have any lights that are casting through. So just with the crack of daylight spilling through, nothing in that light, and it takes a moment for your eyes to kind of focus in the dim, and nothing near the door. The chains are still fairly taut where the spear has been threaded through them and kind of twisted. Nothing seems to have molested that since you last left it here.
I'm going to take the sort of the hilt of one of my daggers and just do it like 3 quick raps on the door and see if anything approaches the door. See if I hear or see anything through the crack heading towards the door. If I do like a quick tap, tap, tap.
Okay. Give me a. I don't know if any of your attributes would add in, and I would say a perception test.
Okay.
So then it's going to be 2d8 plus your perception, your wisdom of 0. Difficulty is 9. Would any of your traits help you with kind of quick study? I think quick study would work. So 2d8 plus 3.
Okay. D4 plus 3 or 2d8 plus 3?
2d8. For any skill check, it's 2d8 plus the relevant trait and the relevant attribute.
Oh, I did this wrong. Sorry. I hit equals 3.
That's okay. We still see your rolls are 7 plus 6. So what's that? 13 plus 3 is 16. Stunning success. You rap on the door, and I think your intention is to try and like draw them toward the door.
Or see if they're even reactive to anything, really.
Yeah. So you have your kind of ear to the crack. Inside, you hear a low kind of guttural moan. You hear a little bit of rustling and scraping. The moan is something plaintive to the note of it. It does not get any closer. You hear it, and you can tell that it's further down, maybe into the chamber where the pillars were.
Okay. Well, I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to undo these chains.
It's a pretty quick thing. You look at it. You could just either cut the spear out, or maybe even with a little bit of elbow grease, just pull the spear just straight out of where it's linking them, and the chains will fall apart.
I just didn't know if whatever spell is pushing back the ghouls or whatever would push me back as well. Well, I'll carefully try to pull the spear out of the chains and try to free up the door.
Nothing comes to affect you. That thrum doesn't sound as you're touching the chains of the doors. The weight of the chains is kind of pulling taut on the spear, and it takes a little bit, like shifting a little bit. They slip, and then you're able to work it out like a foot, and then pop it out all together. The chains fall with kind of a heavy scraping thud. Drag into the dirt.
All right, I'm going to slowly pull the door on one side, I guess as we're looking at the map, the bottom door, like this one.
Okay.
Open a little bit. I'm going to see how much light spills in to see if I need to cast my light right away.
Actually, I have a way that I can click on your token. I can see what you can see, so let me just do that real quick. Yeah, so you see where it spills on. Do you see the writing, the 2 X's in the writing?
No. No.
Do you see the red X's?
I see barely a tiny piece of a red X.
Okay. Yeah, to my end, it looks like you see a little bit more than what it would. You had left some bodies here in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
They have been moved. They've been pulled back away from the door. In the very far end, where those X's are at the extent of your light, you can see slight motion up at about your height. Kind of leaning forward. You think maybe like an arm comes out of the shadows briefly, and then it falls back into the shadows. They're just at the range of your vision. If you don't cast a light spell as you go through those doors, I'm actually going to turn off the light that you're generating. You have that for daylight right now, but you'll lose that going in there.
Okay. I'll go ahead and cast my light spell.
Okay. And so when you cast your light spell, that's like a cantrip. We're not going to have it cost a spell slot or anything. What do you put it on? Do you put it on a weapon? Do you put it on, like, do you have a torch that you just kind of ironically make magically light?
I was thinking it almost would be like not a bubble, but like just a little kind of amorphous globule of light that just kind of revolves around me a little bit. Like it's not something I can like move to a position to light something away from me. It's not, I mean, it's a cantrip, so it's not that powerful, but it's just something that it's not attached to any part of me or my weapon. It certainly lights me up. It makes me a beacon, but yeah, it's just a kind of like a floaty.
You remember ion stones from old D&D? That kind of float around your head and give you a bonus. But yeah, it's that sort of thing. It just kind of goes around you. It's probably bright enough, like it'll sometimes pass around you and cast a little bit of a shadow, but it's moving constantly, and so the shadows will never be used to obscure you. But just like flavorful, it's almost like being underwater, where the light kind of flows and ripples around you. Yeah, so you bring that up, and now that gives you the 20 and 40-foot vision range. So as you kind of wander through now, we'll keep that light on you.
Okay.
You're welcome to kind of wander in. I'll reveal what you're seeing as you move in. And so as you come a little bit further, you see those dead soldiers. They're let's have a little flavor text to read you. Since your last visit, the guardians of this entrance have changed. You recognize the 6 previous undead soldiers, each stripped and chained to the first 6 pillars as you entered. As you observe them, all are writhing in apparent agony. They are each impaled on spikes protruding from each pillar, spikes you do not recall seeing previously. Even those you are sure you killed last night have been mostly reassembled, reanimated, and hung in some sort of penance from these pillars. Each has runes carved into their exposed torsos, so they've been stripped naked, and they've got these runes carved into their exposed torsos on their foreheads, on their cheeks, along with their arms and legs. On the recently dead, including the brothers from Cotton Hill, the wounds look fresh and are slowly weeping a thick, dark blood. So they're hanging there. Last night, they were not verbal at all. This morning, they're giving these sorts of little wailing moans. They appear to be in some form, agony. As your light spills on them, they kind of reach out toward you a little. You see intelligence in their eyes. Last night, they seemed almost like automaton.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as you make eye contact with one of the redheaded brothers from Cotton Hill, he's say the one on your left, he looks at you and he kind of softly lets out a, "End this," and he spits up a little blood, thick, like rotted tissue. He's not alive. He's undead. He coughs up a little bit of some organ that's dissolving inside of his body. And he just looks at you with heavy eyes.
Do I recognize the runes on them?
That's a good question for you. You're pretty well read. Anything you've gotten through the small village, you've read voraciously. Let's give this an intelligence check, DC 11. I think you could also do your quick study to it. So it'd be a 2d8 plus your intel of 2 plus your quick study of 3.
The 2d8 plus 5.
Yeah. And are you trying to? Oh shit! Yeah, you can remember having heard that generations ago, roughly around 300 years ago, and it clicks that when you recalled the stories of the Shrike King, and these were stories that like the people at Cotton Hill didn't know. Nobody told you Shrike King until you showed up here and saw these doors and ended. At around that time, it was common to brand people who were derelict in their duty, went AWOL, traitors, kind of in the culture that held dominance at that point. It was a pretty common thing to brand, and the runes that you see carved into them are brands. You recognize, you could actually take the time to read all of them. They're brands marking them as failures, marking their penalty of suffering eternity. They're clearly, they failed in their duties in this front chamber, and they're being punished there.
So the runes that are on them are not magic in the sense that they're like arcane and creating the situation they're in. They're more just a method of torture that was done on them.
Yes. They're not what's making them like a suspended animation or sustained undeath. They're not the magic behind that. They were carved in as a shaming thing, as a pain if they felt pain.
Sure.
And apparently these guys they feel agony. Even the ancient undead one in here, or two are anciently undead. Even those seem to be suffering. They're probably less verbose. Actually, maybe they speak in a language that you have never heard spoken. It's the language from hundreds of years ago, a different culture entirely. And they have dry, raspy throats, voices.
And so I didn't understand what they were saying.
No, I don't think you pull their words. You probably could, if they were to write in their language, you'd have been able to decipher it. But the spoken language, I don't know that you. Now, maybe with phonetics, you get the gist that they're also begging for release from their punishment.
Got it. I'm going to take another step forward. So there's 6 of them.
Yes, and from behind the pillars, further past the 6, there is subtle rustling. Something moved back there, ever so softly.
Behind the far pillars?
That's correct.
Like
Let me
ping.
Correct layer. Yeah, I can ping here.
Like back here?
Yeah, back where you're pinging and further back.
Okay. Well, I know whatever it is can see me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look to the closest of the brothers from Cotton Hill and just ask, is there any message you want me to send to your family?
He looks at you. Are they alive? And he coughs up some blood. Have they not been taken? And you spoke to them yesterday.
Yeah. No, they're fine. They're fine.
Don't tell them I died like this. And then he kind of looks over and he sees directly across from him is his brother. And he, don't let them see us like this. Tell them we fought it. Now, yesterday they were not communicating at all. There was no. I mean, now he's clear. He's still undead. He's not alive, but he's intelligent and has memory of who he was.
Well, there may be a way out of this for you before we end things.
As you say that, if you kind of look a little further back, moving up, 2 more of these soldiers kind of come forward. And you hear a little more rustling. They're not alone. There's more than what you can see. 2 more of them kind of come forward. They're moving just slow steps. They come forward and they look and inspect the nearest 2. And if you're not reacting, they kind of come and stand fully in front of these 2 here.
Mm-hmm.
You just look at them, and those 2 are writhing. They look toward you, like they clearly see you. They start making their way forward slowly. They get up to these 2, unless you're stopping them.
They're not making an aggressive move at me?
No, they seem to be kind of coming and checking out the undead that are pillared. And if you look in your light up here where I'm pinging, you might see one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of being paced by a group that's off in the wings.
Got it. Do the pillars reach all the way to the ceiling?
Yeah, they're structural supports.
Okay, I'm gonna try something that might be dumb. I am going to cast the Least Alchemy of Forms on 2 foot cubed at the base of this pillar. and change the solid stone of the pillar into liquid.
Okay.
To try to remove the support.
And you're trying to, because you're an architect too, right? You're trying to kind of have it tumble onto the two guys that are between them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. He's Alchemy of
I
Thorns.
don't want to cave the whole place in, but I want to create some chaos and hopefully not create chaos, but create a distraction and also hopefully damage these two in the middle. Like I don't want to cave in the whole place so I can't continue into the dungeon.
Right. I think quickly, just kind of looking at it, you think there's enough supports. They're almost ornamental as well. You think there's enough that like one going out will be okay. You can affect that, and you will definitely tumble the pillar before you cast. But before you do that, why don't you give me a quick kind of engineering roll to figure out if you're going to be able to do it to maximum effect? I think it's a difficulty 19 to drop that pillar on red. It's a difficulty 11 to drop it on red and green.
Would it be a higher difficulty to drop it on both?
Yeah, I think.
She said difficulty 19 to drop it on red. Difficulty.
No, 9. 9
okay, I'm sorry.
drop it on red. 11 to drop it on green. And then do you care about trying to protect the guy who's changed to it? I think it'll be a 13 to do it where both red and green get smashed, and 13 will kind of get freed by it, or at least not crushed.
Is he one of them that was speaking to me?
He's also kind of he's leaning forward. Actually, now that these ones are next to him, he's kind of cowing away from red. As red is inspecting him, red will kind of look over his shoulder and look to you. Seems to be making sure that you're not doing something, or it's decided not to attack you yet, or you're not a threat at this point. And it turns back and it's kind of shying. The imprisoned one is shying away from red. Same thing's happening with green on the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, if I can do it without destroying the person chained to it, that would be ideal.
So I think we've committed to casting the spell.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and roll your engineering. So it's going to be 2d8 plus.
So 2d8 plus 5?
Yeah. So 15, yeah. You're going to be able to hit red and green. I think they're going to be pinned below its weight. And the guy on there, I'm going to actually remove his X. I'm going to make him yellow.
Okay.
The pillar comes crashing down. Go ahead and roll 1d4 against red and 1d4 against green. They're both going to get pinned. They might take damage. Roll 1d4 separately for each one.
Here's the first one.
Nice. So he takes 1 point of damage, which they're one hit die creatures, so he's going to die. And on the green.
The second one.
Nice. Now, you also have a fray die that you can use whenever you do any other action. We're kind of in a combat turn now. As you do this, they're going to react. What can you see from your location?
I mean, all I can see is just a little hint of this dude sticking out.
I think that's enough if you want to try your fray die. Do you shoot those, was it green kind of arcane bolts that fly around?
Yeah.
And you see they're not like, they're almost like smart missiles. They kind of fly out. As they get away from you, they kind of curve around and hit the target.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to roll your fray die, you can roll a d4, and if you do damage to him, nice.
Am I typing this incorrectly? Or am I just rolling great? It's just weird that I got 4 so many times in a row. I want to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. It says rolling 1d4. I just want to make sure that I'm not.
That is weird that you're getting so many. Are you typing /R or /roll 1d4?
/R 1d4.
Keep going. Yeah.
So I got right.
That's a good spot. We were playing a D&D game down here with 4 players. We all had to make a saving throw against the same effect, and we all rolled a 20. I looked at the odds of that, like 4 20s in a row. Really low odds. I don't think I've ever seen it in D&D where we all naturally or critically succeeded on one check.
When I was back in high school and playing the D&D campaign with Scott and Nate and all those guys, just a weird die roll situation. We were fighting something that we shouldn't have been fighting. Like it should have been one of those where you just get wiped. And like we were fighting the big bads of the campaign too early.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott almost never made us roll dice. It was all narrative. But if there was something where it's like, okay, you should fail this, but I'm going to give you just like chance at blind luck to succeed. I was on the side of a cliff and I tried to like monkey flip somebody over off the edge of the cliff and kill them. And he had me roll the attack and I rolled a natural 20. But he still was like, well, fuck, this shouldn't be working. So you sort of roll off the side of the cliff with them. And he made me roll a dex check to make sure that I didn't fall off the side as well. And again, I don't even remember in AD&D whether with those you wanted to roll high or roll low, but I rolled like either a natural 20 or a natural, whatever the perfect roll was, twice in a row. It's like, well, shit, I guess you killed this 20th level person when you were 5th level. And
oh shit! It was a big boss type guy.
Yeah.
And to Scott's credit, he didn't give the guy plot armor too. That's a big temptation. It's like, oh no, he turns into a bat and flies away because you shouldn't have done that.
Right.
Very cool. Yeah, sometimes there's those moments that really stand out, and I think it was with some karate friends or judo friends that don't really play D&D. That was a good memory to have with them early on. It's a big thing I've learned about role playing. I used to kind of stress over, am I making the right decision this turn? I don't remember any of those decisions. I just remember the fun times. So.
Something that I've picked up because I watch Critical Role a bunch, and I like that show. And I've sort of picked up just from listening to how they play, and also just from what are the exciting parts. It's like role playing is about the big successes or the big failures. So just like whatever cool, I mean, obviously do what you think is in character, but whatever cool, like crazy heroic move you think would be neat at the time, give it a go. And if it works, it's an awesome memory. And if it doesn't work, it's a spectacular failure. That's also a good memory.
Yeah.
Rather than just like, I'm going to be as careful as I can and like not peek my nose out at all. It's not fun. Who wants to watch that movie?
Fortune favors the bold.
Right.
Or doesn't, but either way, it's fun.
Right. Nobody likes Metal Gear Solid. I'm just kidding. Okay, so I hit this guy.
Yeah, you pull that off. The pillar comes crashing down. It's loud. It is fucking loud. You hear creaking, protesting stone up above, settling. But your engineering check was spot on. As you pull the pillar out, like the other pillars, almost you actually hear like you see a little dust kind of near the tops of those pillars. It's like the weight settles on the two to the left and the right, and the one below it. But the ceiling holds. The pillar collapses. It absolutely crushes red and green. They're destroyed underneath it. Skulls are turned into powder. Even if they hadn't died, they'd be pinned under it. Yellow is able to kind of twist free as it falls. I think he gets carried to the ground, but he kind of crawls because he's impaled to a spike that's been affixed to these pillars. He kind of starts crawling forward, and just by dumb luck, the direction brings him toward you. He moves about 5 feet, and he pulls himself off that spike. And as you're kind of surveying what's happened here, coming up from the shadows, you see this guy. Can you see me kind of moving him around, or is it only going to be on drop when you see him? Can you see somebody shuffling around below you?
Mm-hmm. I don't. See him now I do, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of comes up under the shadows and moves toward you. He's got his spear out, and he's moving with intent. He's planning to come get you.
Is he another one of these same guys?
Yeah. And he's as far. He's kind of moved his full move. Oh no, he's gonna just double move. Yeah. So he's kind of comes running up toward you, but he can't quite get to you before the initiative is going to reset. I think as he comes running by, The brother you haven't been speaking to on that bottom pillar reaches out to try and like scrabble at his knee, or his shoulder as he comes running by. The yellow one that just kind of has pulled himself off the spear, he grabs a fallen spear from one of the red ones and acts as if he's going to try and stab Orange as it's running toward you.
Okay.
What do you do?
I'm gonna fling a dagger at Orange.
Okay.
And I'm also gonna. What's that?
Is that your afraid eye or is that an attack?
That's an attack.
Okay.
And then I'm just gonna say to the people pinned to the pillars and to the guy who's free, fight for your freedom.
Nice. So roll your attack and do the usage die on your dagger.
So I don't remember how I roll for attack.
It should be on your character sheet, although maybe it's not.
It might be.
It's going to be 1d20 plus your attack bonus, which is right now it's 1/3, so it's 0. Runs on 0. Plus your dex modifier, which I think is 0.
No, I have 2.
2 dex, okay. And then plus their armor class, which I need to get to. I put all this content in their character sheets, and I don't see it right now, so let me get to it here. Plus armor class 7. So
roll 1d20 plus 9.
Plus 9. And what you want to do is hit a target AC of 20.
Oops.
So on 17, it fails. Go ahead and roll the usage die on the dagger.
Which is a 1d4.
The D4 or D6?
Here's 1d4.
Okay.
I'm supposed 1d8.
No, that's the damage die. Usage is how quickly you're going to run out of them. No, yeah, you were right. It's 1d4. So what did you roll? Did you roll a 1 or a 2?
I have not rolled yet. I rolled a 1.
So that was your last dagger. You kind of reach for it, throw it out, and then like your dagger belt is empty. If you recover it, you'll get a D4 daggers back.
Okay.
But it goes flying off into the dark. You still have a fray die available to use on your turn.
I'll do the fray die. Again at that same dude.
Fray die does not have to be those bolts. It can always be those bolts, but you can also be backhanding people or headbutting people, whatever column does. That you don't roll an attack with. You just hit with a fray die. If you do a 2 or higher, you're going to deal damage. Roll 1 more D4.
You know what I think I'll do is I think I'll kind of. I don't know if I can use a fray die this way, but you tell me. I'm going to kind of circle this way, just edge one way a little bit and kind of feint to try and get the monster, to sort of circle with me so that this guy that I'm pinging can get a hold of him, and my fray die is that guy hitting him. That makes sense?
Yeah, I like that. So you called out to them like fight for your freedom. You circle around and
just seems like this guy would try to use like tactics and strategy to do damage as much as he would weapons in his hands.
Yeah, I like that. I like your turning the environment and other threats against him. Roll a d4 and see if that's going to actually do damage. Yeah. So on a 2 to 5, it does 1 point of damage, 1 hit die damage. And so I think the brother behind him, as he's so focused on you as you intended, the brother behind him ends up, he was scrabbling at his shoulder. He gets a hold of the shoulder, and then he kind of is able to, he's leaning forward from the spike, and he gets him by the belt, and he just pulls him toward himself. And you see Orange get impaled also at kind of a cruel angle up through his shoulder and coming out of his neck.
That's cool.
Impaled onto the spike. And the brother just kind of like jerks him. It's you see it causing him agony too as he's twisting on his own impalement. And he just like rips this guy apart. And I think eventually like the wound at the neck tears open and the body just drops at your feet.
Very cool. Very cool.
So you have killed. There are no more coming out of the shadows. Yellow pulls himself kind of to his feet. I'm going to delete the red X's. They're there. They each kind of have the spears that I've described, but all the dead ones I'm going to get rid of.
Okay.
I'm going to get rid of the X's. These guys on the pillars are not dead. They're just kind of there. suffering. Yellow kind of looks toward you, looks toward the others. Doesn't seem to be interested in helping anybody else. He's just kind of standing there, looks to you, looks toward the door beyond you. He's holding that spear that he recovered from the fallen one.
He doesn't seem to be like clicking back into autopilot though, to where he's going to bar me from entrance, does he?
No, and he's actually like he's shifting from foot to foot in a way that like you've never seen undead do. I guess you don't really see a lot of undead, right? But it seems to be like a habit from his life.
Mm-hmm.
Usually that's like your muscles are adjusting your bounce. But he kind of has this kind of a habit. He looks down to his spear like he's basically performing the behaviors of a live person, but he's clearly undead. This is a guy who's been. I mentioned one of them was like a month dead.
Mm-hmm.
This is him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Looking at the two brothers that are closest to me, and they're impaled on these. Are they like wooden spears, or are they stone spikes that are part of the?
They're iron spikes that have been probably with some sort of like iron wire. Wire has been wrapped around the pillars, and these things are kind of bound onto the wire. Picture almost like the setting on jewelry that holds the diamond.
Okay. I was thinking like rebar or something almost.
No, these are I kind of like that industrial look too, but these are you can tell somebody with a real passion for spikes has had these commissioned.
Got it.
Like Trent Reznor, if he was going to build some sort of weird contraption.
But there's no destroying the spike. I would have to like hoist them off of the spikes to get them.
Yeah, and I think just to be extra cool, there's like these little barbs that kind of retract back to keep them from climbing themselves off. But they're not something you couldn't get around. And as you kind of do it, they're in this weird pain, but they're not. You think you can get them all off without hurting them further, like without killing them.
Okay. Well, before I take any of them off, the one guy's already off. I'm gonna go to the brother who was talking to me, which I think is it this guy?
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a deal with you. And the deal is this. I think I can get you and your brother and these other men off of these spikes. And I would love to do that. But I also would love to have some help getting to the bottom of this. So I want to get you guys off these spikes. And I want you to come with me. And we'll put an end to whatever's going on in this cavern. And my deal to you is, when we do that, we're either going to find a way to save you, or if we can't, we're going to end this for you.
He looks at you. He doesn't interrupt you. He hears you out.
But you have more to do than to just die on a spike.
I don't know that we can be helped, but I do know Edlund and I, and he looks over to his brother, can at least help you avenge what has happened to us and to our kin. If you let us off these spikes and let us follow you, we will follow you deeper in.
Okay.
I do not know these other men and cannot speak for them. And as he says that, like Yellow, if you're offering, hey, I'm willing to come with you too. These fuckers did me too. I don't know why.
Oh, so even being a month dead, Yellow can communicate and can talk?
Yeah. I think he has a little bit of a guttural.
He has a lisp.
Yeah. I'll think of a lisp now for him. Yeah, if you'll take me with you too, You got to cure me. I don't know what happened here. This is fucking ridiculous. We weren't supposed to find this in here.
All right.
And then, of course, Edlund, the brother down here, I'm going to give him a name now. I'm just giving them some tinting because they're the same model as the guys further in. So I want to give them names. What's the main brother you let off? What's his name going to be?
Wilhelm.
Wilhelm. He screamed a lot. You get a nameplate. You see the name showing up?
Yep.
Yellow, I'm going to name him Sneaky Pete.
I don't like the name. I don't like that. Makes me think he's going to sneak up on me.
The other guys are ancient dead. They're kind of hanging from the pillars. They're in agony. They want off also. They're trying to speak, and it's a roughly Chinese type dialect. I'm not gonna be Charlie Chan and offend people here.
So I'll ask Sneaky Pete. I'll ask Yellow. Can you speak for these others? Are they with us?
I think they're gone. They were like that when we showed up. I don't know. They're with him. They're with the king. I just put them out of their misery here.
What do you think, Wilhelm?
I had nightmares. I saw you. You struck me down last night, and you remember when you killed him last night. It was a fever dream. It was a nightmare. I was trapped in my own mind, unable to feel, to speak, to fear. It was hell. I'm surprised I can talk to you now. I don't know what happened. You know, when he hung us, when he carved these, and he touches, he's ginger. The wound actually looks a little bit red and infected now that he's off and touching it. It's still weeping a little. If these guys have been down here and stuck in that husk for so long, I don't know what would remain of a man. And they're all kind of writhing and just doing the zombie thing, kind of like reaching out toward y'all.
Right. Okay. And you said that these ones are like hundreds of years old, dead?
Yeah, the three that you haven't freed yet.
All right. I think even if they were alive, I don't know what they'd have to come back to. So I'm going to put this one out of his misery.
Okay. Yeah, there's no challenge to it. Do you use your fray magic or do you use your weapon?
Fray magic.
Okay.
And as I come a little bit further down to these guys, do I see sort of the same? They're in the same situation as this guy.
I think their armor is also, from looking at it, like there's maybe even some cultural value to their armor. Like they're ancient. They're from, when I say ancient, like in this land, it's like from 300, 400 years ago, not 2,500 years ago.
I'll go ahead and do the same to them.
They at least seem peaceful as they kind of hang limp from their spikes.
All right.
What do you do? Because they also, the ones that you killed yesterday were reanimated and hung on these spikes. The ones that you left alive yesterday were also affected and hung on the spikes. But you do think
I should do something to them.
You like crush their skull? Like, what do you need to do? What do you think you need to crush skull? There seems to be like impaling is a big part of this. Even the ones that you fought yesterday, and the four that are dead here now, all have that same hole through their chest, like they've all been impaled.
Mm-hmm. And that wouldn't do anything to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's got to be I think it's the old zombie trick. It's got to be their head.
Okay. Do you leave them impaled on those thorns and then crush their skulls, or you take them off the thorns after you've killed them and then crush their skulls?
Take them off.
I think Wilhelm and Edlund kind of move in to help you as well with this. They kind of get a sense of a funerary issue going on here, and they move with you.
Sneaky Pete doesn't help.
He stands to the back. He kind of has one eye toward the door the whole time. He's moving with you, but he doesn't like. He's not really into your mercy mission. That's not his motivation.
Mm-hmm.
You, as you're kind of exploring around, nothing has come and approached you all. Chamber 2 that you're in seems fairly empty. I need to check on your character. Have you exposed the whole chamber? Looks at it. Okay. Yeah. So nothing's happening where you are.
I'm gonna kind of creep forward a little bit. I want to just see where the exits are to this room.
As you explore them, you can freely move around chamber 2. As you get to hallways, kind of stop.
Right.
You can freely move around chamber 2. As you're there, you see a hall kind of expanding to the south. There's a hall going up to the north. I think when you were over on the east, there was a hallway going to the east as well.
Right. So Edlund and Wilhelm and Pete. So you said you saw the person who did this to you?
Edlund speaks up. Wilhelm and I were working in the fields. We were captured by what we became. Brought in here, clubbed unconscious in the fields. We woke up in here, being lifted. There's another room. I don't know where it is, but another room. We were placed onto these spikes, and as we came to, there was a tall, scary man wearing full ancient armor. You know, the savages that lived here before. Chanting, compelling us, and then I felt my mind getting caged, and my body climbed down and did his bidding while I screamed my resistance in the void beyond my own heart. There is someone here.
Other than people like you, is he alone?
I have seen many like we were. I hope we don't remain this way. Right. I've seen no one else.
Okay. All right. Well, when in doubt, go left. So we're gonna go up the north corridor.
As you approach, you kind of go up this corridor. You do see. Let me get onto you there. I think you kind of see a door up on the left.
Mm-hmm.
And the corridor extends further.
Is it like a wooden door?
Yeah, you see two doors. I'm looking at your view. Wooden doors, same kind of. Oh no, yeah, you haven't seen other doors in here. Yeah, wooden doors sealing off the room on the left. Further down at the end of your light, you see another similar door on the right. Also, you see a door in the doorway, and your light goes into the dark recess of the hallway.
I don't see any light spilling out from underneath the door.
No. And Edlund actually, as you're kind of looking down there, Edlund, you see Edlund and Wilhelm and Sneaky Pete kind of averting their eyes. They're not looking straight at that light around you. And they volunteer that they stood in the complete darkness with no problem seeing the rooms around. They don't need your light, and until you brought the light, they didn't have any. Except, I think, when the Shrike King was with them. I think he had lights with him.
Did he need light to see?
We never thought to ask.
Right. Well, I'm going to take a few paces forward to about here.
You see up ahead the end of the hallway, and then it looks like it branches off to the left a little bit.
Right. I want to see if I hear anything. I want to kind of stand near this door and listen up against the door and see if I hear anything through the doorway.
And you stand there, you get a whiff of just like, again, charnel house badness.
Of what now?
Like just a charnel, like a corpses rot, decay. I mean, it's bad. You kind of, as you get there, like maybe there's a little cracks around the door. No light, no sound coming out, but it just defilement sits back there.
Behind the door?
Yeah. You want to give an open, go in there and throw a party?
And those other guys are following me?
Oh, yeah. Let me switch my layers here. They are following you, and all 3 of them are following you. They're kind of staying back just a few feet, maybe 10 feet back.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in your way, but they're kind of ready to move up. Sneaky Pete tends to stay toward the back. And I'm not going to bother to update them every time you move, but
that's fine.
As you move, if you need them, they'll be there.
Okay. What kind of handle is on the door? Is it like a knob, or is it?
I think they're kind of probably iron handles.
Like a latch?
Not even a latch, just like a pull handle where you slide the door, I think, into the wall. Like it'll slide as you face it. It'll slide to the left, slide down the map.
It smells like death and decay back there.
Yeah.
I am a completionist, though.
Maybe open the door for you?
Yeah, I'm going to open it.
Okay. You just tell me, and I'll open doors. Okay. Ooh. So light spills in from your light. You just see a pile of corpses there. The pile goes up nearly to the ceiling. Your light just kind of shows you that front edge. The little bit of light that penetrates further back, it's just a huge pile of corpses. Just so you know, the way that we do the dynamic lighting in here, we have to draw walls to show where the light should die. There's a huge pile of corpses, and I've just kind of drawn a light around the front end to show where your light doesn't get back further. You do see up here, the room kind of bends back. There's like an L shape to the room, and it looks like corpses are just kind of piled back around that way as well. It would take some climbing or moving or something else to get through there. Oh, and let me read you some flavor text as you come in here. This is the corpse barracks. Scores of partly decayed corpses are stacked in niches and on the floor, awaiting the defilements that will bind their souls to enslaved and rotting flesh.
Yeah, I'm going to shut that door.
Okay. Completion is my ass. Very good.
I don't want to climb a mountain of dead people.
You choose wisely. So as you go up, the hallway kind of turns to the left, back toward where the L would be, or there's a door on the right.
All right. I'm going to step up here. And I'm going to listen against the door on the right.
Okay. No sounds coming out from the door on the right.
Any delicious aromas coming from the door on the right?
Nothing like it was a powerful smell coming out. I think actually the hallway is overflowed so that when you opened that door, like I think the fumes, the rotten, like the methane, everything coming off those corpses has built up like a positive pressure in that room. So you opened it, you got a face full of humid, wet rot. It kind of washed over you. As you close the door, the hallway is there. Very placid looks on the guys. Like they don't smell it. You just fucking like you want to vomit. As the smell kind of you get inured to it, maybe it dissipates a bit. Actually, you maybe want to break into 6 and shut the door behind you just to get a breath of fresh air. But nothing smells or sounds from behind it.
All right, I'm going to slowly pull this door open.
Let me get to the Correct layer, and I don't want to do that.
Getting all the monsters ready to jump out at me.
No, I'm actually shifting all of the dynamic lighting, and that's not what I want to do. Instead of just grabbing the door, I grabbed like the walls. This is going to take a little getting used to. Once I get it, I'll be better at it. Okay. Door opens. Your light flows into the room. You are looking in on a defiled shrine. Prayers for the peace of the Shrike King's victims were once uttered before this stone altar. He and his henchmen have smeared the room with blood and foul promises. As you walk in, this is a shrine, and the room, there's blood everywhere. You had seen down below, last time you kind of walked into Chamber 2, we had remarked on like freezes and things in the walls showing like victories and battles, like the defeat of the Shrike King. Here, a lot of that's repeated, but you can tell like willful damage of the different pieces of art on the walls. The shrine is covered with probably guts ripped from the victims of some of the people he's kidnapped. Some of it long old, some of it fresh. The door stands to the bottom as you walk into the room, or assuming you walk into the room.
Yeah.
There's a door to the south, and the shrine is just filthy. And the guys kind of come forward and observe this with you.
And this is a door?
Yeah. You get me to open it?
Yeah.
You do your kind of listen there. Nothing kind of sounds behind it. Grabbing those doors is a bit of a pain in the butt, but I got it. Okay. So you walk through the shrine room, and you look down into the next room south. A broken statue of the general depicted in room 2. So the general that you saw like frequently in that first pillared room, the one who you saw like defeated the Shrike King, and who probably from the gowns and like the dress in the chamber that you're leaving 6, he's probably heavily featured there, but like his face has been scratched off the wall wherever possible. Down here in 8, there's a thick layer of dust on the floor. Nobody has been in here for some time. Maybe the door hadn't been disturbed. There's a broken statue of the general dominating the room. The statue kind of leans back against the wall behind it. Where it's broken off, you still see like his lower torso, and his foot is kind of raised up in a rest on like a stone sarcophagus casket, like but in miniature, like not a human size, but like a small replica of a reliquary or casket.
And that's part of the sculpture?
Yeah, it's kind of built into the sculpture was built with him having his foot rested on it, and then the sculpture, like over years, has toppled back. Or there's not the vandalism in here that you see in the room you're leaving.
But it looks like the casket or whatever that his foot was rested on is just part of the sculpture. It's not something that can be opened.
Do you kind of get in the room and start messing with it?
I'm going to look at it.
Okay. Yeah, as you come up and start looking at it, careful inspection of the casket reveals a hairline fracture kind of around the top. It looks like there's a lid on there.
Looks like there's a lid, you said?
Yeah, there's a hairline fracture that's like the lid that can be moved off.
I'm going to try and slide the lid off.
Yeah, it's heavy, but not unmanageable. You push it, it scrapes a loud, low sound against the lid. Gets to where like the weight of the lid kind of topples it off the side. Inside, you see a silver lining. A lot of times they would line like stone things with like lead. Here it's actually silver. It's tarnished black, but as you kind of rub your finger on it, the silver is below it. And then in the middle, there's a shriveled. At first, it's like an old dried piece of fruit. Maybe you're looking at it, you're trying to make sense out of it, and then your mind comes back to some of the books you've studied in your youth. You've seen like anatomical sketches, and this is pretty clearly, after a few moments study, like a desiccated heart.
Hmm.
And long, like not. It's heart.
Do I remember any stories about the Shrike King being destroyed by somebody taking his heart, or like, is the symbolism that this general was standing on the sealed casket with the heart of the Shrike King in it?
There definitely is some sort of symbolism there. You don't necessarily. I don't think you have context to those sorts of stories. If this is his heart, for instance, if the general has his foot over the Shrike King's heart, the Shrike King is not dead, or he's undead, or whatever he is. He's not destroyed. But the intact heart is here in the thing. Go ahead and roll me an intelligence plus quick study check.
So it's 2d8?
Yeah. 2d8 plus 5. Difficulty 15. This is going to be a very tough one.
Nope.
Yeah, nothing further kind of comes from racking your brains.
I don't want to touch it with my hands.
And so you have your usage die on your just general stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a good use to roll that usage die on your ordinary traveling supplies. So roll 1d8, and you can pull like a sack, and it can be, if you carry like a velvet sack or like some special sack, you could have that in there. So because you didn't roll a 1 or a 2, the die is not depleted. You now have in your gear whatever simple thing you have to pick up and hold the heart.
Yeah, it's just like a linen sack.
I started typing with you, but I put like linen sack. And are you going to take the heart with you?
Mm-hmm.
Linen sack full of Shrike King heart, you could call it.
Okay.
Not to say that it's the Shrike King's heart, but it's the Shrike King's heart. I'm good to keep going for a little while longer. I'm enjoying this. I'd like to pee real quick and fill my tea. Do you want to do that now? Do you want to take a few minutes? Do you want to kind of get through a few more rooms first, or?
No, we can take a break now if you want.
And how are you enjoying like the map exploration? Is it slowing it down too much? Is it fun this way?
No, it's cool. It's cool. It's definitely like an old school dungeon crawl kind of a feel.
Cool. Very good. Well, I won't even be 5 minutes. I'll be back in 2 or 3.
Okay.
If you take longer, that's fine.
Cool. I'll see you in a few. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Good. Good. I didn't write air quotes Shrike King Heart in my inventory yet. I should do that. Ooh, is it treasure or is it gear? I'm going to say it's treasure.
Why not both?
Right. Okay. I am going to. Oh, so to be clear, there's no other exits in this room, right? Than the one I came in.
Correct. There's no others. And something I was thinking is we can just kind of assume that you're going to stop and check doors and listen. I'll let you know if there's something you see, smell, hear, things like that. You just kind of go and approach the door and let me know.
Okay.
If there's the game designer has kind of asserted like about 1 out of 8 rooms should be really interesting. Like there's a trap or an encounter in it. There's going to be a lot of dead rooms, so you don't need to spend too much time. We won't do a check for every door. So like when you came up to the last one where the corpses were, that's why I just like, yep, there's a smell. Don't even roll for it. So
Got it.
and same with 6 and 8. You can definitely stop and check, but we won't roll unless there's something interesting going on.
If I light a torch, will I have roughly the same light as I do with my spell?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to light a torch from my pack. So do I need to do a usage die?
Yeah. Go ahead and roll your usage.
It's 1d.
Is it 1d8? If you get a 1 or 2, it drops down to 1d6 next time. Nice. Yep. You light your torch.
My inventory actually grew a little bit.
So I'm using that as kind of the adventure gear idea. I like the abstraction of adventure gear, and I like the lack of tracking. Like a usage die is easier to track than burning uses. And
okay, I like that idea too. So I'm gonna carry the torch. I'm just gonna sort of fasten the little bag with the heart closed and put it in my pack.
Okay.
And I'm gonna dispel my light spell once I have the torch.
Okay, yep, you got it. Then you've got the same light effect now.
Cool. So I'll head back over here.
I think as you come into this room, as you come back into 6, you spent just a very short amount of time in here. The brothers are standing here in 6. They're just kind of looking at the shrine. They're looking around. Just seem disgusted. Kind of look to you as you come walking out, and then turn to leave the room.
The shrine is not an altar, is it?
Yes, it looks like it was an altar that was probably built to honor like the victims of the Shrine King, and it has subsequently been like while he was imprisoned here, they defiled it over the centuries.
Got it. Okay. Well, I'm going to take note of this room because this might be where we try to save these 2, at least 3 people.
Okay.
And I'm going to kind of go up towards 5.
Okay. As you get to 5, you see that it's at dead end. The corpse of the thief who broke into the tomb is crumpled here. A battered chisel and hammer still among his belongings. So you see him kind of lying there. He was ripped apart. And as you get a good look at him, something ties him in your mind to Sneaky Pete. I think that he's decayed about a month. Is there a familiar resemblance? Do they come from a different culture where they have a unique kind of look? Are their outfits roughly the same? Well, I guess Sneaky Pete's like stripped naked, but
maybe they both come from like a Romany kind of a culture where they have really distinctive tattoos.
Okay. Very good. Yeah.
Or even piercings or something.
Yeah, I think maybe a mixture of the both. You kind of under the brands and scarification on Sneaky Pete, you see the tattoos. This guy was never actually taken as far as the impalement. And as you kind of look down on him, Sneaky Pete comes up over your shoulder, looks down, and says, "Well, I guess that answers that question."
So who's this?
He was a cousin. He's the one that brought me here. So there was treasure in here.
Well, I'm sorry you had to find him like this.
Looks down and says, his wife will want that back. And he goes down, he reaches toward the corpse. On his as he pulls his kind of hand out where it's fallen under his body, you see a silver ring with a big blood red stone on it. He starts working it back and forth and pops it off.
So you're gonna give that to his wife? I'm looking for his reaction.
Yeah, it's a family heirloom. And as he does, you can roll an insight. So do quick study plus wisdom, 2d8. And I'm going to do a opposed check.
I don't think I have anything in wisdom, right? No.
It's
So
2d8
plus 3.
Yeah. And if your score beats mine, you win. I have a 12. Yeah. He's fucking lying. He's going to profit off that ring. It's his, and he'll sell it the first time he needs cash to drink. Except he's dead. He doesn't know who's going to serve him. But
Well, I don't have any ties to it, so I don't.
Brief look. It's probably the most valuable thing this guy had on him, and you think its resale value is pretty much what Stinky Beat's going after. He knew the guy had a nice ring that he was jealous of, and now he gets it. Rough guess, 100 gold. I mean, I don't know. You don't have much gold on you right now, right?
No, but the value of this check for me was learning something about Pete. It wasn't trying to get the ring from him.
Very good. He slips it into a pocket, and you think it's up to you. You had a much better check. Do you want him to think that you believed his lie, or do you want him to know that you know he's lying and you're just not going to stop him, like on this issue?
The latter.
You're not a mark. You're just above this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm moving the brothers out of the way. Just keep Martin briefly, and I'll move Pete down there as well.
Okay.
Keep exploring.
All right. I'm going to go back to the main chamber.
Okay. We've got an area to the south, an area to your east.
I'm going to go south, actually.
Okay. Did you come south here?
I'm having trouble moving for some reason.
Oh, you're running into a pillar. Move to your left.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that has actually created resistance.
It only does because I wanted to get the shadow effect, so I drew a little circle on them to break light. And the light breaking effect also breaks your movement. That's why you can't run over walls. To your left, there's a hallway that kind of shoots off south and left of you. And then due south, I think, let me see what you're looking at. I think you can just barely make out.
I see a little something green.
There's like a tree down there, but there's no light coming in other than light you're spilling.
A tree. Uh-oh. I'm hearing Odie start to fuss a little bit. I'm going to take
a little break.
Too soon. Yeah, it should be too soon for him to eat, but let me check the clock here. Let me just check the clock here. All right. Give me just a minute. If I feed him, I'm going to need longer, but if I don't need to, then I should be back pretty quick. Let me see what I can do. All right. Sorry about that.
No worries. You gotta feed him.
Yeah. He is fed and back asleep, or still asleep. He never really woke up. All right. Are you still good to go for a little bit?
Yeah, I sure am. Actually, giving some little stats to Wilhelm, Edlin, and
Pedro.
Good old Pedro.
All right. So I see the hints of a tree, and I see a little hallway.
Mm-hmm. All the way off to your left, and hints of a tree out of place to the south of you.
I'm going to go down the hallway, and it ends with the 2 doors.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go to the far door first.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me a quick study plus wisdom. So 2d8 plus 3.
You pull it. Okay, yeah.
Difficulty 11. Nice. You hold your ear to the door, and there's nothing. And your patience is you've given it a good long check. It's fine. And then you hear just a bit of a rustling, and then you hear like a cough. Maybe something gets shuffled around inside. Like you hear like maybe a chain, just a little bit of a rustle of a chain. Then it goes quiet again. Wait a little bit longer. Sniffle.
And are the 3 that are with me doing any of these sort of more human reflexes, like sniffling, coughing, clearing their throat, sneezing?
Sneaky Pete's kind of shifty. All 3 of them, none of them have done like actual, like speaking is an intentional thing. They're not breathing on their own, so there's no like sniffing. Maybe actually while they're speaking like verbal things, and maybe somebody had like a nervous cough. But yeah, you don't get the sense of that. And I see that I left a little bit of light shining through. I don't know. Can you see that?
I mean, I can see that there's something, but I can't tell what it is.
Yeah. I think, oh yeah, that's not clear. Okay. Yeah, clearly there's something in here.
I think I'm going to have Pete open the door.
Okay. Pete is going to move over. He looks to you. You give me the command. Let's actually play that out because he's pretty reluctant.
So Pete, I think it's time. I know why you were here before, and you seem to be clearly the one who can get into and out of doors better than any of us. I just have a weird feeling about this door, so I'm going to lean on your expertise here.
Yeah, kind of soothe his ego a little bit. Yeah, he looks at you like, yeah, I think I can get you to the door. He's speaking of a hush. You kind of get the feeling that he's been on the job before. He goes up to it. He kind of takes a look at the hinges, licks his fingers, kind of feels around.
With his dry, desiccated tongue.
Actually, rubs his cat tongue, puts his hands on the door. He seems to be trying to feel it. And he looks back. I think he actually says, I have these dead fingers. It's kind of hard to tell, but let me just give it a shot here. And let me do his roll. He pushes open the door ever so slightly, and he turns you with kind of a cocky grin, and he just gives a little bit of a shove, and you hear it kind of scrape as like the weight comes off of the hinges, and the door kind of settles in stone. He gives a little bit of a scrape, and you see like he kind of freezes right here in front of the door. A spear comes poking through the door. Let me do this real quick.
I'm evil. Use him as fodder.
Spear comes poking through the door right at Pete.
And kills him.
He's like pushing the door open. He hears it. He kind of turns to you, smiles. He hears a squeak. He stops pushing and he starts to lunge back. You see his face kind of drop. The spear shoots through the door and like sticks through his neck. Kind of pushes him into the hall. And he kind of goes ragdoll, hanging on it for just a moment as the spear pulls back. And a gloved hand comes through the door and pulls it open. And one of these dead soldiers, let me open the door for you. And then a dead soldier is going to poke his head out. Give me one moment. Yeah, and this guy kind of comes out, looks down at Pete, and then he looks up at you, and he's not surprised so much, but he doesn't register any of the manifestations of surprise that a living person would.
He's not like, oh,
yeah. But you can tell he was kind of focused on Pete, and he wandered out in the hall. He's right in front of you.
I'm gonna fire at him with my crossbow.
Roll me attack. His AC is relevant, and I close the book. Their AC is 7.
So it's +9, right? +2, +7.
It's going to be, was it your dex +7 plus you don't have an attack bonus?
So my dex is +2.
Okay, so 2 + 7, yeah, so d20 +9. Crossbow bolt goes kind of thudding into the wall next to the guy. Roll your usage die on that.
I don't remember what my usage die was. 28. At least I'm oh, come on now. At least I'm attacking thematically as a wizard would with a weapon.
Your arrow or quiver is not depleted. The wizard crossbow fires off into the wall, plinks behind him. You have your fray damage available to you.
I'm going to roll my fray, and then if I hurt him, I'll tell you what it is.
Okay. Yeah, you do damage. You do a point of damage. It's going to kill him.
So the spear goes through Pete's neck and out the other side, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I sort of try to kick the tip of it up and flip it back towards him, and hope that just the leverage of Pete falling on him with this pointy spear will just like he'll get impaled on his own weapon, basically.
Okay. Yeah. You kind of flip him up over. It kind of topples him over against the wall, and Pete slides down. Like the shaft of the spear actually kind of goes through. You hear some ribs crack. There's a little ping as it punctures through the armor. You hear noise now rustling inside the room.
I'm also just going to point out that I'm better at ninja moves than I am at using my weapons.
Oh, and I think, did you move a little bit forward to do that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Move yourself to where Pete is right now.
Ooh.
So you see these guys kind of run forward. As you move forward to do that, this guy's going to come up and take a swing at you. These guys can't move that far, but they're kind of coming up.
Okay.
And one guy does get right to you. He gets to swing. So he's going to do a d20 +1, and then plus, what's your armor class?
Let me look.
7, I think.
Yep. Yes.
So he thrusts the spear at you. How do you evade it? What like he kind of comes in low, kind of at your hip?
Again, because there's Pete's body and then this other ghoul or whatever these things are, body. There's sort of just the clatter of those two in between me. I sort of shift, and the two of them fall in between me and the guy.
I think he ends up running Pete through even more. Yeah, as you do that. There's a shout of surprise from the back of the room. A female voice with an accent You've maybe heard a few traders. She comes from the ancient people, like the descendants of the ancients that would have been here long ago. You there? Who's out there? What is this? Oh my gosh! Prophets, praise be. Kind of calling out, excited.
Got it.
And they all rushed forward on their turn. They kind of went as far as they could. The major squares are 10 feet. The minor ones are 5 feet. And they're moving roughly 30 feet per turn, so they can't quite get all the way across. Actually, this one should be up a little bit further. But you now have 5 of them in the room. And I think you can see... I'm going to move Pete out of the way also. Are you going to resurrect? Are you going to do anything to bring Pete back, or is he gone?
He's gone.
All right, I'm going to delete him. If you survive this, you can take that ring from him if you want. I'm just going to delete corpses as they die, just so they're not there.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah. So you've got this group here.
All right. I'm going to take a step back just to try and, I don't know, go a little bit of distance. And I shout, Wilhelm, Edlund, time to earn your keep. And I'm going to shoot a crossbow bolt at Pink and use my fray die. Well, I guess I'll shoot the crossbow bolt first.
D20, their AC is 7. D20 plus 9. Okay, that fails.
Nada.
Roll your D8 for usage die. You're surprised, like as you keep pulling these squirrels out and shooting them, like your quiver just feels like it never depletes. You're going strong. You shoot your die out. You have your fray die also.
Okay.
So
this is going to be one of the green bolts at Pink.
Yeah, you delete him from the face of the earth. Bolt. Yeah.
Let me ask a mechanical question, because I'm looking at my spell, 7 Small Thunders. It shoots out 1 bolt, basically, right? The advantage of that versus my fray die is that it's a higher die, right? So I could potentially do more damage.
Let me double check. It might also do additional bolts as you level up.
I think that's true. I think right now, though, it's just 1 bolt. Yeah, for every 2 levels, 1 bolt can be hurled. So for right now, it's basically just like a stronger fray die.
Stronger than your fray die, and because it has up to 7-point damage maximum, you've got a 33% chance of doing 2 points of damage. And you're guaranteed to deal damage because you'll get between a 2 and a 7. So a 2 through 5 would do 1 damage, and a 6 or 7 would do 2. So I think that's why it's more powerful, why it's a spell instead of the fray die.
And you don't roll for attack on it. It just goes.
No, it's basically magic missile.
Okay. Got it. But it's better to use that on a more than 1 hit die villain.
It could be other classes other than magic user can only use their hit die against people who are equal to or lower than their level in hit dice. Magic user can actually use your fray die also against higher level people too. So you would want to use your spell and magic missile against, the Shrike King or higher level guy. But yeah, the chance to do 2 damage, you'll never do 2 damage with 1d4. And if you do 2 damage, any damage you deal with fray or weapons or spells or anything else can spill over into nearby people that you could reasonably hit. So if you magic missile 1 guy and you do 2 damage, the extra damage won't be wasted. It'll like burst through his chest and hit the guy behind him.
I see. Okay. So it could be useful in a situation like this where I'm fighting multiple mobs.
Yeah. Could roll.
Got it. Okay.
I do want to point out you successfully left the dungeon last night and came back this morning and were able to come back in, but they had reacted to you overnight.
Right.
He had been clear there and punished these guys. So if you leave again,
who knows?
It might get tougher, or who knows what'll happen. So Yeah, so you fire that. You rolled your fray die and you killed Pink. I decide what order we go in. I think Wilhelm and Edlund will run in kind of in front of you here. Turn, and we'll have Wilhelm do first attack. He's going to do a d20. He'll have a +1 for strength against their AC. No base attack bonus.
Go Germans, go.
His brother, I think, will do. I think he'll get a base attack bonus and also strength. Yeah. So they both go in and start trying to swing and punch, and you realize neither of them have armed themselves. They're not carrying spears, and just like fists are flying. They're trying to get in there and kind of holding the room back. On their turn, blue and green kind of swarm the door. Purple and I think it's red come up. Blue and green are going to go after Edlund and Wilhelm each. They're going to be doing a +1. And their AC is going to be 9. They're not wearing any armor. Here comes through into Edlund. 1d6. Spear comes into Edlund's gut, kind of stirs around a little bit. And you're like, oh shit, Edlund's going to die. The spear comes back out, and Edlund's standing there, big gaping hole in his gut. Doesn't even seem to realize it. He's still flailing, trying to punch the guy. Doesn't even notice that he's been gutted. And it cuts back around to you. The two guys further in the room weren't able to get an attack in.
So there was just one. Shouldn't one of them have gone after Wilhelm also?
Yeah, there was a missed attack. There actually were 3 18 rolls in a row. Each brother rolled, and then one of the dead soldiers failed to hit. They also have to AC 20 to make contact.
Got it.
Or difficulty 20. So
I'm gonna fire a crossbow bolt at green.
You know what we can do real quick? Do you want me to make, or do you want to make a token that will fire? And we'd have to keep updating the die whenever it changes. That sounded quite as simple as I thought. Okay, yeah, go ahead and do it.
Damn.
And then check your usage. D8. Nice. Okay, so again, your quiver is full. You fire into green. Nothing happens. Fray die.
I almost hit 11d4. That would have been an awesome fray die. No.
And it doesn't do damage. And then we cut around to the two brothers. First brother. Nice. So this was Wilhelm, the younger brother, or Edlund, the younger brother, lays into them and punching, grabbing, biting. He only does a D2 until you give him a weapon. You get a 50% chance of actually inflicting damage. You know, he's smart enough. He would have grabbed up a spear, right? Yeah.
We passed up several spears.
Yeah, I'm going to say they arm themselves. Yeah, so he does a damage. Knocks this guy out of the world. His brother is going to swing. He's also going to hit. He would also grab the spear. And does a damage. Yeah, it was smart taking these guys along.
Since they actually can fight, and I can't.
Well, you're the magic user, right? You're not supposed to be the fisticuffs guy. These two guys are going to charge forward, and they attack. 1d8 + 9. +1 + 9. Miss. Hit. So this is on the brother on the left. Oh! The spear initially went through his guts, came back out, went back in a little bit higher, picks him up off the ground, and you see the brother still kind of jabbing the spear, trying to get him. He slides in, notch, notch, notch. It's like the spear tips scraping up vertebrae. And then the undead soldier just kind of shakes it around, and you hear like there's no pain. These guys were suffering from pain on the thorns. something was going on there. These spears are not causing them physical pain, but he's dying nonetheless. And this is Edland, I think. Which one was over here?
On the left is Edland.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of drops down the spear, and like eventually his feet just quit kicking, and he dies. I'm going to drag him off to the side. I don't know if you're going to do anything, try and resurrect him later, but I'm kind of pulling him off to where he's dead now.
Okay.
And that was their attack, so it's back around to you as Wilhelm gives out a yell, a very anguished yell.
I'm gonna grab a spear from the ground and try and toss it at Orange.
Okay. So you're going to be able to use your dex on your attack?
It's essentially the same roll that I've been jacking up.
And it's still going to be a d4 to do damage. So yeah, you push the spear through him or throw it through his. Let's see how much damage you do. 1d4. Nice. How do you kill him?
It's just almost a luck move where I just like flip the spear up and chuck it, and it just chunks through his forehead.
Nice. Yeah, the next
picks him up off his feet, and then I'll use my fray die on the other guy and try to do a quick shot with the crossbow.
Okay. Yeah, you snap the crossbow off. Because this is a fray die, it's not going to count as a usage die. You kind of whip off the quick shot, punches through his eye socket, drops him off his feet. And again, you hear the voice in the back. What is she saying? She's back there. Actually, she's kind of quiet watching at this point. As you felled them, she says, quickly, free me, release me, please. I beg of you.
I'm going to peek in and see if I see what's going on.
No problem. Let me get to the description of the room real quick here. The bridal chamber, stuffed with stolen, damaged furniture and a parody of a noble's bedchamber. A kidnapped maiden with red hair, shackled to the corner, and 6 dead soldiers stand guard over her until their lord has time for a suitable marriage rite. Of course, the 6 dead soldiers now lay dead, kind of sprawled around the doorway. She's, again, chained to the bed. The chain is just long enough to kind of let her get to a desk along the north wall. It's about a 30-foot chain. Keeps her from getting toward the door. There's probably a couple of overflowed chamber pots as far away as possible near the bottom corner where some of these guys have been holding. Some food and water on the desk, mostly depleted. She's smells bad. She's looks like a pretty woman who's been chained down here for a week, 2 weeks, treated badly, malnourished, sallow cheeks. Picture kind of Big Trouble in Little China. You know, the redheaded lady that the Chinese what's the guy's name?
Kurt Russell?
No, well, he rescues her, but the Lopan wants to marry to fulfill the prophecy.
Isn't that Kim Cattrall in that movie?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But Kim Cattrall was she? Yeah, I guess she was the redhead. Yeah. Picture like Kim Cattrall speaking with a Chinese accent.
All right. And what's going on with Edland? As I look at him, is he too far gone to do anything for him, or?
He is not moving. He's like de-animated. Wilhelm runs over and kind of scoops him up and like lifts him and cradles him and little brother. Oh shit, little brother. Oh shit. He kind of takes a few moments, and then you see him kind of get a steely, almost like resolve. He looks toward you. He's still holding Edland. This cannot be. This cannot stand. And the woman from the back comes forward as close as you can. Her chain lets her get to about here. She's not quite within reach of you. And she's saying, hurry, free me. He'll be here soon. He'll send more. This is not a safe place.
All right. So Wilhelm, just hang on to your brother for a minute. He fought nobly. He's the reason we're still able to move forward. I'll turn to the woman.
And she looks over her shoulder now at him and sees that he's a zombie. Like, you see the recognition in her eyes. And her jaw kind of clenches, and she disciplines herself from saying something. You get just a brief moment of insight into, like, she's playing this damsel in distress. There's something more to her than what she's letting on.
Got it. But I don't. I mean, this is authentic. I don't have the feeling that she's with the Shrike King and just like there to trick me.
Correct. You get the feeling that
she might be more capable than
yes.
Is apparent.
She's trying to like actually like maintain this, like, I just rescue me, get me out of here. She's trying to maintain that to get set free. I mean, it's a play act, but not that, like, if you get close enough to free her, she's gonna try and sink a dagger in your knife. You don't get a threatening vibe off of her.
Right. Is her chain thin enough that I would be able to break it with like a spear by like prying it?
Yeah, and that wouldn't even take a check, I think, because you have like a background in engineering stuff. Like, you look at it, there's no lock on the chain.
It's just like a manacle kind of a thing.
Yeah, manacle, and just the chain, like the links have been bent tight around it. And so, yeah, there's no key to find or anything. But you do think you could break, like, you might not be able to pull the manacle off of her as quickly. You could break a link in the chain right near it and just let her keep wearing, and it's probably around her ankle.
Got it.
Yeah. If you take just a few moments, you can pop that off.
All right. I'm going to walk over to her to start working on it, and I'm say, we're not headed out. We're headed deeper in. You okay with that?
What is deeper in? She asks you, and she's calm, like she's like looking at you, a little apprising you. What is deeper in?
Deeper in is the man who's causing all this, or the thing that's causing all this. I'll pull the little bag out of my backpack and say, deeper in is the owner of this. I'll kind of open it and show her, and then close it back up and put it in my bag.
Before you open it and show her, her eyes get big as you hold the bag, and you provided the bag. Like, she didn't.
Right.
And she looks at you and says, "You found it."
Was that what you were looking for?
And as you open it, her eyes get big and says, with this, we stand a chance. Free me. Who are you? Who are you, brave one?
So you're here to help.
I'm here to destroy him. I assume we have the same goal. She's still chained up, right?
Yeah.
So he says that, and then she's like, "Oh shit! Like, are you tormenting me? Is this one of his games?" She kind of backs up. You get the sense that now, like, she's actually moved into a. Now she's assessing whether or not she can kill you and take the heart. You get a sense that maybe she's trained at some sort of martial arts. Like, you're within. You just feel this moment of like spidey sense of danger as she's questioning what you're actually doing here. Now she's suspicious all of a sudden. What is your name, brave hero? It may be a touch of sarcasm or.
My name is Caleb.
Caleb, please break this chain. Let us find the owner of that together.
All right. I'll take your word for this, and I'll trust you. I'll break the chain.
Yeah. So you break the chain. She kind of sees what you do, and it, like, you see her kind of observing, like, oh shit, like, I probably could have had she let you leave, like, oh, that would have worked for me too. She didn't even think of it. She goes over to one of the bodies and pulls the spear up, and then she looks to Wilhelm. She looks to you and to Wilhelm again. It's you. You serve him. How do you stand there and grieve the fallen? Wilhelm doesn't acknowledge. He's still kind of staring at Edlund.
That's his family.
They do not acknowledge their families. This is different. He has changed. The Shrike has changed, I think she says. He never lets them feel.
Well, maybe it was a punishment. Maybe it's easier not to.
She looks at him again and kind of steps around you and gets like the full view of like the branding and stuff, and she nods and says, "Yes, you have angered him. Let us find your vengeance." And she turns to you. My name is Anna. Calum, thank you for setting me free.
And that's Wilhelm. And is there anything else that we need from your bedroom?
Nothing in here is mine. You know where he is? Do you know how to find him?
I don't. We're just searching. Have you seen some of this layout other than where you are?
I was captured. I have no idea how long ago, and kept here in the dark. Other than an entry chamber with pillars guarded. I don't recognize these two, but by soldiers such as those that you just killed here.
I wonder why he didn't turn you.
He had other plans for me in mind. He spoke briefly of me becoming his wife, locked me in here, left me, fed me almost cruelly, kept me alive, but never mentioned turning me. He showed me the altar. He showed me the ritual where he turned some. But
so you have been to other portions of the caverns?
Just off the main chamber, the pillars support a main grand entry hall. He has a small shrine where he sticks the victims. She's describing like it's not the shrine that you might be thinking of, where the defiled shrine.
Mm-hmm.
She describes an altar where a tree of sorts has been assembled out of spikes. And just so you know, it's actually the room to the right of Chamber 2. As she describes like where it was.
Okay.
It's the room you haven't looked at yet. That's to the right of Chamber 2. It's not the trees to the south either.
Okay. All right. Well, let's keep moving. And
I have barely eaten. Have not slept well. The food he provides is rotten, miserable. Do you have anything I can have while I follow you? Just a touch of food, touch of water. Are you willing to give her something?
Yeah.
Just roll usage on your rations, so 1d6.
Dumb.
Oh, I should have had you do that last night or this morning also when you woke up, but it doesn't matter. But we'll try and track that in the future.
We'll roll it twice. We can just see.
Nah, I don't want you to run out here. So,
no!
But you're able to give her some food.
Hungry bitch.
Don't eat that much. Give it straight to your hips.
That's my Funyuns.
Yep. So actually, we're nearing. I think it's getting late, but we can push on. I think we can probably get through the dungeon here.
Okay.
She eats some of your food and follows you. Wilhelm will actually walk Edlund in and place him in the bed there.
Got it.
And you hear him lean over and say, "Brother, I'll be back." So just assume they're following you.
Okay. So we'll go here. And I think we should go down to this green tree.
Okay. So as you go, as you approach, let me get you the actual text here. So they did a better job writing it than I will extemporaneously. The false garden, bushes of verdigris wire and enameled leaves with peeling paintings of sunlit days. So it appears to be a tree. As you get closer, it's actually just like painted iron wires kind of twisted around into fairly almost like fractals, like to come out of a main trunk into branches. And somebody came and painted green and brown on the trunk. As your light spills in, you see further in, there's additional trees. On the walls, you see, like it says, paintings of sunlit, peaceful, kind of pastoral scenes, but the paint's all peeling off.
This is a perfect hidey spot for people who are up to no good. I'm going to come south a little bit to try and see into the sort of the guts of the room.
So as you kind of creep in, pretty paranoid, you've got that light, you're just waiting for something to spring at you from behind every tree. You take your time moving through here. The tension, builds. It's palpable. You feel something's going to drop out of you on the tree. Nothing actually will happen. But yeah, I think Callum goes through that kind of anxiety as he cuts through here. You explore this room. Northeast corner, you find a doorway going north, and there's a corridor going to the east out of the southeast corner.
All right. I think we should check the door first.
Okay. Again, the other two are following you. There is no sound behind this door as you kind of put your ear to it. It's a tomb behind in there. You want me to open the door?
Yeah.
Be nice to have like a macro or something where I could grab these doors a little more easily. Bam. Okay. Door, your light spills in, and let me read you the chamber. This is 11. An offering vault. The tomb goods offered up by his original captors rest here. A mound of black ingots that are actually badly tarnished silver, and a selection of wooden effigies of carriages, slaves, and other grave goods. So kind of like what the Egyptians would do, where they'd load up a burial chamber with treasure.
Mm-hmm.
As you walk into the room, you see stuff kind of piled around. The wood is mostly decayed, falling apart. There are some foods and wine that's all, again, turned with 300 years passage of time. But the pound of tarnished silver bars, the pile of tarnished silver bars stands there. It's worth hundreds of gold, but it's also fairly heavy. It would load your pack down.
Yeah, I'm not going to take it now, but I'm going to take note of where it is.
Okay.
And it occurs to me that I didn't loot Sneaky Pete either, but I remember where he is. So,
and we can even hand wave that if you would have just grab it from him. You can add a silver and garnet ring with 100 gold pieces to
my treasure.
I get to delete his character sheet. I had just made him while you were feeding Odie. I was making Sneaky Pete.
Poor Pete.
He had a good stealthy too. He had a +2 and a 1 dex, so he had a +3 to open that door. He just didn't roll as well as the undead guy who was standing on the other side of it and put his spear through his neck.
I'm glad I had sneaky fodder there. All right, I'm gonna head back towards the corridor.
Okay. I don't see where your character is. Where are you at? Oh, no. So you kind of stop moving there. Because this is a special room, but I think you're okay. As you start moving into this, the floor has ceramic tiles. They're kind of crumbled around the edges, and as you're moving, like one tile shifts a little bit, and then you hear a few seconds later, like something splash in water. And you kind of look down, the floor is real weak. It's ceramic tiles over some sort of a
like a pit.
lattice, a pit. Not necessarily it was built as a trap, but rather the subfloor is rotting away. That these ceramic tiles are built over, and it just happens to be like over maybe an underground river or something here. You've kind of walked out onto it before it occurs to you. You're okay, but you worry that like if you were carrying all that silver, or if you were wearing heavy armor, it would drag you down. You look to Wilhelm. You look to Anna. They're not wearing any heavy armor. You think that like crossing one at a time, you might be okay.
Yeah.
And it pings from this on the left to this on the right seems to be the really shaky bit. Once you get past that, it's okay.
From where to where?
I'll mark it real quick with a little red lines, kind of from here to here. Can you link that red line?
I don't see any red lines.
Which layer am I on? Do you see it there? Oh. Did your lighting just change weird? No. I'm not sure what layer I was on. Give me 1 second.
Ed, I mean,
that don't matter.
So the southern half is the weak part?
Yeah, pretty much the southern half there.
So if we hug the northern wall and go one at a time, we should be fine.
Oh, not the southern half. I'm sorry. The whole corridor there.
Oh, I see. I understand.
Yeah. But once you get, do you see those red lines showing up?
Yep.
Kind of between those two lines is the bad floor. Once you get past the one on the right or past the one on the left, you get to more solid floors again. So as you kind of get to the 13, you're okay. You just think if two of you were out here, or if you were carrying like heavy things or wearing armor,
right.
If any of the undead soldiers were chasing you across this, they'd probably crash through.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'll explain to those guys. Let's take this one at a time. I'll get to the other side and let you know what I see, and then you guys come one at a time.
Okay. As you see, the corridor goes north. Let me key to the tome. We go into that next room up there.
Mm-hmm.
You can get them across pretty uneventfully once you kind of have cleared the floor. It's good. As you walk into the next room, the wooden coffin here is largely rotted to black filth. Its crudely painted lid hurled aside. You look in here, there's paintings, peeling paintings portraying some ancient, culturally significant like sense of an afterlife all across the wall. There's paintings. As you move along, they're faded and peeling back. As you move to the northeast, the peeling paintings of the afterlife on the wall don't hide the secret door well anymore. Up in the north, like right north of where you are now.
Right here.
Yep. The room's floor has been kind of swept. Looks like it's maybe an attempt to disguise tracks of passage through the area. But there's clearly been activity kind of coming in and out of this area, and it draws your attention to that section of the wall, and there's a secret door kind of hidden back there.
Okay. Before I go through the secret door, I want to kind of examine the coffin.
Okay.
And see, do I see anything inside it? Do I see, is it just a decrepit old like prop, or is there?
Yeah, you kind of look through it carefully to see if there's anything in there, maybe indication. Didn't look like there's ever been somebody laid to rest in there. There's no like scratch marks on the inside of the lid. It looks very much like a prop. Yeah.
Okay.
And let me fiddle around with the secret door.
Yeah.
Get that out of there. This. We're nearing the end of the dungeon here. It's definitely worth pushing on. Okay.
That door is not so secret anymore.
So you see this hallway kind of pushes forward further to the north. You can keep moving up and taking your time creeping through. Arr, cave bear! I dropped that in there to show Jessica the map, and there was no cave bear there. Did it show up on your screen though?
It did.
So you just walked out of room 14, which was the false tomb. You walk into this room, kind of a secret back area behind the false
real tomb.
The true tomb. The stone sarcophagus has a broken lid from when the reawoken Shrike King shoved it aside.
Okay, so this is his.
He was imprisoned here, yeah.
And you think is that like a coffin or?
Yeah, it's a sarcophagus, well, kind of king kind of thing. And it looks like at some point he was reawoken, and he shattered the lid as he shoved it aside and climbed out. You've kind of gotten the idea, like Sneaky Pete and his partner had come through here, his cousin, had come through here and like broken the chain and opened the doors. That might have been what set off like the reawakening of the Shrike King. And then he started reanimating some of the corpses that were buried in here with them.
I think this woman might have come in here and reawoken him. She might be like a Shrike King cultist or something.
A fangirl.
Right.
Cosplays the Shrike King on the weekends.
Right. The bride of Shrike King.
She comes up and sees what you're looking at. And says he's around here somewhere. I mean, this cannot be the end. And you do see a door off to the left.
Is there anything in the sarcophagus?
As you glance around within the sarcophagus, you actually see a shriveled, long dead finger, desiccated. I mean, long, like hundreds of year dead Shrike King's finger, lying on the ground in there. There's a citrine-studded ring. Adorning like on the finger as it lays down there.
I'll take it.
Okay. Mark down a 200 gold piece citrine studded ring.
Yeah.
And then there's a door on the left.
That's Odie's birthstone.
All right.
Kind of yellowish. Right, I'll listen at that door.
My precious and precious gems from World of Warcraft.
What's that?
From WoW is my only real reference point for a lot of the Peridot and those sorts of gems.
From your days of jewel crafting with?
On my Paladin. Like I got to level 24, I think.
Big roller.
Slide this across. You open the door.
Yes.
You open the door. There's shit in there. The room is brightly lit, and you may vaguely recall that the Shrike King, when he went into the when Wilhelm saw him when he was awakened in front of the Shrike King, he had guys carrying torches with him. So he seems to prefer the light. Whether or not he needs it, you don't know. You open the door, and you see 4 of the same guards, the same guys you saw before, standing around. He's sitting up on top of a throne way at the back, well-lit room. Anna kind of calls you now. That's him. Now, destroy the heart. And he steps forward as she yells out and says, "Hold. No need to be hasty."
No need to be hasty.
The throne
So
It
go
is a
ahead.
leprous mass of rotting iron.
Is a what mass?
A leprous mass of rotting iron. It's a big, twisted, corroding, nasty. It's not nearly like the Game of Thrones, the Sword Throne.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a big misshapen hunk of almost unworked iron, rusting and pitted.
So I'm gonna hold my torch up in one hand, and I'm gonna pull the sack with the heart out in the other, and just set it up.
He looks to you and says, "You have bested many of my soldiers who have made it this far." And he kind of looks over your shoulder to where Wilhelm is standing, and Wilhelm is glaring. He would have caught his breath when he saw the Shrike King if he could breathe. He says, "You have bested many of my soldiers. You have shown compassion to those that failed me. You have even freed my wife to be. You impress me. Bring me the heart. Come serve by my side."
I didn't do this to impress you. I did this to fix all of the problems that you've created. There's no serving by your side.
Then leave. Drop the heart. Leave with my mercy on this day.
Well, at least one of us is merciful. I'll drop the heart on the ground and just dip the torch into the sack and set it on fire.
Nice. Anna goes to kind of grab your wrist and looks over your shoulder at Wilhelm and says, let him do it. He deserves to destroy the Shrike King." And the Shrike King is like yelling no. Like there's this dramatic
No!
all slow motion while you have this little dialogue. The Shrike King wants to stop you from setting the thing on fire. I think he kind of orders the guards to rush forward and stop you, but you have this little moment where you can choose whether you want to do it yourself, let Wilhelm do it.
I'll let Wilhelm do it.
Okay. He greedily grabs the torch and he holds it down toward the heart. The linen is dry and the heart inside is dry as well. Immediately catches fire. Couple things happen here. First, and probably least consequential, Wilhelm looks up to you and gives kind of a smile as his knees buckle. You see the intelligence kind of go out of his eyes, and he just collapses and like lays down, but there's like a half smile on his face. Whoever destroys the heart immediately takes 1 point of damage. You kind of get that he was maybe not even aware that he was making the sacrifice, but once the awareness set in, he was okay with it. And Anna gives a sigh of relief. Now roll 2d6 damage. You're going to roll a d6 twice. And we interpret each one separately as damage against the Shrike King. Nice. So the 6 does 2 points of damage, and the 2 does 1 point of damage against the Shrike. The old Shrikester.
Sneaky Shrike.
So as he comes running forward, can you see the red bar over him?
Yes.
Okay. That's kind of tracking his percentage of life left. As the heart withers up, you see him kind of clutch his chest and freeze for just a split second. The other soldiers are kind of like moving up to close in on you, but like they haven't moved yet. It's your action. You get to go first.
I'm going to cast 7 small thunders on the Shrike King.
Okay.
Do I just click the button?
Yeah. Click the... So you do 4 points of damage. So one bolt goes flying into the room. If it had done more damage, it would have like been able to go through him and go into others. But just 1 point of damage, that is just enough. You have killed the Shrike King.
Yay!
He collapses kind of on the throne where he stood up. He kind of falls back into the throne. You still have fray damage to do.
And my hope that his zombie minions would collapse into the ground when he dies was in vain, I'm guessing.
Is that dramatically appropriate? I think one thing that we can say is like you're gonna wipe up these guys. And Anna's gonna help you. We don't need to go through it turn by turn, but do you think like when he dies, do they recover their will that he's been suppressing and they become almost like he was? Do they just drop and they're no longer animated?
In my head, I was thinking kill him first because then maybe all the others will drop.
Okay.
Like there was some essence of him that was keeping them animated.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily like, I don't know. I wasn't planning on that, but that was like an idea that I had that rather than fight, I can't even tell how many are in there. 4 of these guys, is that right?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't have full vision because you hadn't gone around yet.
Right.
I have lights in the room. The room is fully lit, but with your fog of war, you hadn't seen them yet.
Got it.
That's something for me to keep in mind. No, I think that can definitely be kind of how it worked. Is as he died, the life force kind of keeping him alive. So maybe Wilhelm would have died anyway, but this way he at least got to go with a little vengeance on him. And I had just incidentally, I had rolled Wilhelm's instinct and knack using the Dungeon World tables, and his instinct was to extinguish an evil forever. Like that blended. I mean, that's what I randomly rolled for him. They get blended pretty well with what ended up happening. Right. So
I'm surprised that stuff worked out as well as it did. Like I figured maybe if I try to be, thoughtful to these people, it'll work out.
No, I thought now the adventure didn't actually call for them to like be pillared to that or be tied to that pillar and punished. I thought it was kind of cool, like if they had been stuck inside those dead, inside their corpses, like being mindful. There was some language in here in their text. It's when that room full of corpses. There was something about awaiting the defilements that will bind their souls to enslaved and rotting flesh. Made me think like they're trapped in there, they just can't react. I want them to be dispassionate, but like when they're punished, he actually just frees that protect. He lets them experience the emotion and anguish. I thought it was cool that you let them go. I had rewritten that chamber then, based on you leaving and coming back, to where the 4 guards that were in there. If you had taken any action that could be interpreted as non-lethal punishment, if you tried to put them out of the misery or free them, you were going to get attacked. If you took any action that could be interpreted as non-lethal punishment, the dead soldiers would have moved forward to observe. They would not attack you, and they would not prevent you from going deeper into the tomb. So you're kind of like showing like, oh, you might actually work for the Thorn, the Shrike King. They also scripted the Shrike King offering you like a lieutenancy to serve with him, which you turn down. If you turn it down, he won't attack you first, but will insist that you depart. The only rooms you missed were in the corpse barracks room that you chose not to explore because it was gross. There were 8 dead soldiers that would have risen up if you searched or disturbed the bodies. And so that's why I had your light block off. I just made it a huge pile. Like if you started to climb it or disturbed it, like some of them would have clawed their way out and attacked you. The Thorn altar, go ahead and mark a blood-filled bronze ewer for 50 gold pieces. That was room 3 that you didn't go to.
I guess we're just hand waving that I go back and.
Yeah, I think it's probably not interesting to the crawl of the unpopulated dungeon, right? I'm going to turn off Fog of War and Dynamic Lighting. Actually, I'm going to keep Dynamic Lighting, but give Global Illumination. I want to see if this works. Can you now see the full map?
No, now I can see just what I'm in.
Oh, God. That's not what I want.
Like I can see room 15 and I can see the portion of 10 that I can see through the door.
How's that?
Yeah, now I can see everything.
Okay.
Oh, three looks cool.
Oh, that's I kind of found some assets. The black circle there is what's
That's what's actually on the map.
yeah, so then I found some art assets to kind of put it over the sarcophagus, same sort of thing.
Cool.
So,
Nice.
yeah, so I think the stuff that you didn't find in 6 here, the shrine, the bloody desecrated shrine, if you had taken the time to clean it, you would have gotten +2 on any attacks against the Shrike King.
Oh, cool.
In here, do you see all these assholes hiding now?
Yep.
Yeah, so they would have attacked you. Down here, I'm clicking now in 9, kind of by the trees. It was a room full of spoiled storage goods and rats, and there was a big deadly spider that would have pounced on you.
Oh, you know what? I totally forgot about that second door. What's going in there?
If you will go and open the door, there's nothing of value. You have to kill a spider. The spider itself is pretty nasty. If it gets its bited on you, it has a save DC 13 venom, and if you fail your save, you just die, just straight up die. And so that's where that defy danger or defy death roll would come into play.
Got it.
If you fail that save, like, oh, defy death instead. So
got it.
And that's, I think, part of like this game is supposed to be like potentially lethal on any mistake, but that defy death gives you like the heroic power through bad poison stuff.
I was just fortunate enough to only roll poorly on my attack rolls.
only on the attack rolls. No, I thought you did pretty damn well. I thought you. I was worried that last time you took a lot of damage from just 6 guys. Like, how is it going to go? But you avoided one room with 8 guys. You avoided a horrible spider by recruiting some kind of meat shields. You survived a room full of 6 guys. You didn't have to fight the 4 of the Shrike King at all because you had the heart, and you had kind of figured out to destroy it. Anna was there to help, and the rules specifically said that she knows about the heart's power, roughly about it. She knew it would hurt you and things like that.
So I still could have killed him if I didn't have the heart. That just made it easier to kill him, correct?
Yeah, the heart, destroying the heart does damage against him. So anywhere from 0 to 4 points, and he only had 4 hit dice.
Got it.
So if you had not destroyed it, you would have had to inflict 4 wounds. And then whoever destroys the heart is going to suffer that 1 damage. So
right, got it.
So that's pretty much. Oh, go ahead.
Was there any noteworthy loot on the Shrike King?
I don't believe on him himself. Let's see. No, nothing particularly noteworthy here, although I want to change it in just a moment. I'm going to go through the loot in the dungeon real quick just to make sure that you did get everything, because you would go through and search kind of like you talked about.
Right. And the silver bars, were they like from the city, or were they?
They were buried with him as part of the funerary, or the treasure to send him into the hells that he's going to serve in.
Yeah.
So you should have you can either write down just the gold piece value if you're going to take it back and sell it as soon as you get the chance, or if you want the craft goods. Which way do you want it?
I'll probably just try to sell everything.
Okay, and you'll. I think the people in Cotton Hill will be so glad for what you've done.
The citrine studded ring I'll probably keep.
Okay, so mark that as treasure on your body or on your character sheet. You're gonna get 50 gold for a bronze ewer. Have to wash the blood out of it. 100 gold for Sneaky Pete's ring.
Got it. So 150.
500 gold for the silver bars.
650. I'm trying to.
And then you're going to keep the ring is worth 200 gold, but you'll keep that or you can sell it.
I'm going to keep it for now. It's a cool cursed ring. Well, I don't see a spot on my character sheet to put gold. Is there like do I just put that under treasure?
Let me see. Probably.
I feel like there is a spot to put it, but I don't know where it is.
Is there something for gold?
Oh, did I just lose?
Silver and copper. Can you hear me?
It just got real slow and weird.
I'm getting a weird connection right now too. Or can you hear me?
I got you now. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same kind of hiccup just after you got it. I don't see it. I don't really care for this character sheet. There's a few things it's missing. Like when you roll an attack, it doesn't prompt you for AC and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would just put the gold piece like under treasure.
Okay.
Put a column for gold, copper, and silver. And unless you want to deal with like the mechanics of carrying stuff, like I like that you left the silver behind. I'll recover it when I survive. I'm not going to carry it with me. As long as that's kind of how Callum acts, I don't want to track
like encumbrance or whatever.
Encumbrance too much, yeah. If there's something like that floor, if you were wearing heavy armor or carrying that silver, you would have fallen through the floor. But unless something comes up,
I think we can both, be reasonable and if I'm doing a dungeon and you notice that I'm like looting a lot of stuff and keeping it, because if Sneaky Pete had been a living person, I probably would have grabbed stuff with the idea that if I don't take it, he will. Then it's perfectly reasonable to just sort of say, hey, remind me what all you're carrying right now in your inventory, because there's this breakaway floor or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I think also if you were to like just establish, maybe you stage things once in a while, like, oh, let's gather everything up and put it in this room, I'll come back to it. You can do something like that. You'll have to spend the time.
Sure.
So it's not very difficult to set the maps up this way with the lighting. I've also, and this map is from the Quick Start book. You can look at the adventure yourself in there. There are really good online dungeon generator maps, generators that I can use to quickly, like with very little time commitment, put together some maps to have like a few options of adventures as we do the sandbox. Making the lighting is a fairly quick process once the maps are in place. So if you like doing the exploration this way, I'm definitely down to have some of these kind of always on the back burner ready to come into play.
Yeah.
So let's do the end of session questions real quick, and then we can talk about what we're interested in for the next. Actually, I guess that even comes up in the end of session questions that we've written. I'm going to pull open the campaign paper and ask some end of session questions. Did you undertake a heroic challenge this session?
Nah.
If you did, gain an XP.
Oh, then yeah, I did.
Did you succeed gloriously or fail spectacularly, or did we learn something interesting about you?
I think I succeeded gloriously and failed spectacularly.
Where'd you fail?
I just couldn't shoot anything with my crossbow.
Very good. I think.
And I threw away my only dagger. The first time I tried to use it. But I also killed the Shrike King before he could barely get out of his chair.
Yeah.
And I think we learned that I didn't intend to play this guy this way. I thought he would sort of be a pragmatist more than anything. But I think he's in D&T terms, he's becoming sort of a lawful good, kind of a compassionate good guy. Not that we need to be bound by alignment, but I don't know. I didn't think that he would be a paragon sort of a guy, but he seems like he's heading that way.
Yeah. And this is where, like, as we play, adjustments to beliefs, goals, and instincts are fine. That's kind of what we're aiming for. But it's interesting that, like, you find yourself in some situations where I think particularly the choice to free the two brothers and Pete, but give a mercy killing to the other three who I'm not sure if this is what influenced it, but the idea they'd been suffering like 300 years of this kind of living hell. Like they probably were unrecoverable. But that was an interesting kind of choice to let them come with you. But then also willing to put them like, nope, Sneaky Pete, you're opening the door, and talk him into it, kind of work up to his pride to get him to do it.
Well, and the sort of determining factor with the mercy killings was partially the torment they've had, and also the fact that if they've been here for hundreds of years, the world that they're familiar with is gone. There's nobody that they love around. There's nowhere that they've ever been that they can go back to. The world's moved on without them.
Yeah, so there is no future for them out there.
Right.
Good. I also found it interesting that you didn't confront Sneaky Pete when you knew he was lying. Like, it was your choice to like let him know that he's caught, but yeah, he can keep it for now or whatever. Like, there was no need to be like the alpha. Like, nope, I get all the treasure, and you lie to me, I'll punish you. Like, you were just like, all right, he's Sneaky Pete. He's a scoundrel. Now I know that for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I got something out of that. I learned exactly who he is.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was a good the value of that was to see who he was. I thought it was a good response. And then also with Anna, I think you played it cautiously with her, but kind of gave her the chance to see whether or not she would agree to you. I think as you're walking out, she explains that she came here to kill the Shrike King. We'll have to role play any sort of interaction where you maybe want to figure out how she knows about him. But like, yeah, she came here with the intention of killing him and got captured. So we'll have her available to speak to as we start next time if you want.
Sure.
How have your goals, instincts, or beliefs? I'm sorry. I wrote grammar very badly here.
My beliefs have.
How have your goals, instincts, or beliefs? How have they been reinforced, challenged, or changed?
Well, I think that the goal, I don't think, was really addressed at all. So that's still going to be a goal. I think he sort of reinforced his belief that that the world is basically a place of order, and that disorder is the anomaly and usually doesn't last. The Shrike King was able to have his little sort of domain of chaos that was locked away, that, if left to his own devices, he would have been in a dungeon for forever. So it's good that he's gone, but he wasn't going to influence the outside world in that way.
Although with those chains opening, he had started going out and rebuilding his army.
Yeah.
And that's actually a part, like if you go back and read the quick start, if you were interested in that now, that is kind of what's going on here. Is right now he's not much, but he's trying to get there, and you're catching him with his pants down, basically.
Right.
If he had chosen to wander away and not kill him, I would have brought him back as a much more powerful threat down the road.
Well, and I guess where this ties into Caleb's beliefs is that, the world of structure and order snuffed that out before it could happen, before it could become a problem. Like, the chaos and entropy can be a minor inconvenience until it butts up against sort of the laws of nature and the laws of the world, and then those more powerful forces will stomp them out. Which, in terms of science and physics, is the opposite of what's really happening. But
I think
right.
I think also something that kind of came up that maybe wouldn't necessarily change your goal right now. It might even reinforce it, and that this was related. While you didn't talk to Pete much before he rebit the dust, he did mention that his cousin had brought him here, like looking for treasure, like they'd been led to believe there's treasure in here. They came here with intent, with purpose, and seemingly inadvertently opened the chamber. But it might provoke the question, like, well, who knew it was here?
Right.
Wanted it opened? Why would somebody give a couple scumbags a clue like this unless they were trying to wreak a little havoc. So
yeah, that hadn't occurred to me.
I think, is that it for? Oh no, there's one more question. What will Colin do tomorrow?
So probably sort of debrief with Anna with Anna. Try and figure out where she's headed from here. I don't know if she's like a traveling adventurer or if she has a home that she's getting back to, but just to sort of arrange to, I don't know, have somebody I could call on or reference to the future if I'm ever in that place. Like, hey, we got through this together. Don't be a stranger if you're ever in the neck of the woods, kind of thing. And then go back to Cotton Hill, to bring news to the families. If there's any sort of trinket or I don't know, something on Wilhelm or Edmund that would identify them, to take back to their families.
Yeah, I think you find a little, probably like a stone urn or something that's just full of little, like individually not valuable, but a lot of sentimental value. Little trinkets, rings, necklaces, small like oil portraits and lockets, things like that of people who have, over the centuries died. And near the top of it, you find more recent stuff. You knew their family name from having met their family back in Cotton Hill. Mm-hmm. You find something that's pretty clearly theirs, and would be a sign, of proof that you found what happened.
And as I walk back to town, I'll come up with some sort of a story about how, I found them sort of exploring the crypt, trying to make things right, and that they helped me to defeat the evil, but we're lost, just enough of the truth so it's easy, because I'm a bad liar, but just enough of the truth to make the lie easier to tell and to save some face for their family and give them some peace, and something that I can practice over and over on the way back to the town so that I can be as convincing as possible.
Nice. Yeah. I think that kind of compassion and the fact that you took the time to try and save the village, that there were some little bits maybe you learned from the brothers that, like, clearly you only could have gotten from conversation with them, not just finding their jewelry, that helps you reinforce it. Maybe some of their idle chatter while walking around behind you. You took your you spent your trait point to flesh out your pre-existing. I need to get that sheet back open. But if you'd want to respend it, or it would be available like whenever you hit level 3, you could take a trait that's something like hero of the people or small town hero, something like that. That would give you even a bonus when you're like dealing with people in small towns or small communities, or it could be all sorts of stuff where like you start getting a reputation that grows.
I see. And then that could potentially help with like charisma rolls.
Could help with charisma rolls. Could help with if you're trying to gather information from a small town, and it's more like an intelligence thing instead of charisma. Like, it's not necessarily tied to charisma, but basically just your interactions with people. And
maybe I've heard something about a town. If I'm asking about an area, you can say roll with your small town hero roll to see if in one of the other towns you've heard something about this place.
Yeah, or even if like you go into a town, like, have they heard about me?
Right.
Work stuff like that. And okay. I just kind of off the cuff made small town hero. There might be a better way to frame it. But if something like that appealed to you, that might be a way we start kind of getting traits that move away from the tight focus you've had on your mm-hmm. past, and we start kind of building off of your career now.
Okay.
And instead of that, it could be king killer. You've turned down a bribery attempt from a undead king and killed him with like dramatic quickness. Like, You could go for something other than small town hero.
Sure.
You'd asked about treasure from the Shrike King. I think you got quite a bit of loot from the dungeon, but there should be something that would give you from him. You also, just so you know, he exhales a cloud of choking red mist that inflicts an automatic 1 point of damage on any hero in melee range. Had you actually gotten, if he approached you with a sword, you would have been taking 1 point every turn. So killing him at range was badass. You handled that really well. He did have a sword. I don't know if you'd have any interest in fighting with a sword. I think you'd be able to use it. It would still only do a d4 damage, but it'd be like a Shrike King sword.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to use it, it's still, I think, 300 years ago, it was a very well crafted, maybe even a well known sword at the time. It'd maybe have some value for resale. I'd say maybe it's like 150 gold. It's not magical, but it's ornate. It's kind of imbued with that kind of weight of history behind it. It's recognizably a badass sword.
I'm gonna actually, I'm gonna give that to Wilhelm's family.
Nice.
And tell them that it's the spoils of the evil that he and his brother helped destroy.
Very nice. Yeah, I think that would maybe even help into if you did a trait around like being known as a hero to people.
Did I get 2 XP? I got 2 XP.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you need a total of 5 for your next level. So after the next session, you'll level.
Cool.
If you answer at least one of those questions, yes.
And then I get a level 2 spell.
Yeah, level 3, you'll get level 2. And this game is designed, it's kind of written up through level 10, and then to get level 11, you need 11 XP, and every level after that is just 11 XP. And so it's not like we have to stop at level 10. It's going to slow down considerably. It'll take at least 2 sessions to get to level 4, at least 3 sessions to get to 5 and 6. If the XP is coming in too quickly, there might be other ways that we can reward Callum other than just straight up XP.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me know if there's things. They also recommended on the Google Plus community, if you want to look at like Dungeons and Dragons spells and the old player handbooks and things like online SRD, free resources. If there are other spells that occur to you that you think you'd want,
mm-hmm.
you can look at those and try and figure out how to hack them into the system.
Cool.
The game is designed to import old like AD&D and earlier edition stuff like very easily.
Got it.
I think that's it. I'll start working up a few adventure seeds next time around that will involve. Some of them will be more or less, designed to give us an opportunity to explore your goal. Some of them might be around getting to know Anna better or continuing to be the local hero, and we'll kind of have a few paths open for you to choose next time.
Okay.
Well, I really enjoyed this, man.
Yeah, thank you. I had a blast too.
Good.
Thanks for setting it up. It was fun.
Yeah, I'm going to do a few more maps to have ready for next Sunday. I'm going to go to my mom and dad's house, but I can probably do the same kind of setup from there, so it should be good.
Everything okay? Just like house sitting, or?
Yeah, they're actually going up to the lake. They leave tomorrow, and they'll be up there until the 15th.
Oh, cool.
They have a puppy at home. I'm going to go stay with the puppy. So.
Nice.
Yep.
Very cool.
Good deal. Cool. We have a good week, and I'll see you soon.
Yep, you too. I'll see you soon.